brand new episode here on 1950's Farm. So as you can see, the lorry contractors are in and we are selling our soybean. Well, we're not selling our soybeans, actually we're selling the dairy soybeans, but we will be selling ours as well because there is a great demand on at the moment for soybeans. So we've had to kind of stop everything and get selling. So the money that's in the account at the moment, that's all dairy farm, so that will be taken out and given to the dairy farm. I am keeping track of how much they've got, and they're very rich. I've said before, you know, the one thing you have to remember is that all these prices, and I don't know whether Giants' prices are sort of calculated on real life prices in terms of like soybeans and stuff like that. I don't know whether they've sort of taken an average price of what, you know, farmers could expect and then made that the sort of kind of base price in the game. I don't know. I'm guessing not, only because they've got wheat at 640 some odd pounds a ton, and in Great Britain you ain't getting 640 some odd pound a ton for wheat. You know, the most I've ever known it was 2012, when I think the farm that the first farm that I worked on, no, the second farm that I worked on, because I started there in 2011, they achieved £302 per ton for their wheat, but that wheat did go to 1950's, I do believe. So yeah, I don't know how they base their prices, but as you can see, it's worth a lot of bloody money. In the words of Alan Sugar, it's worth a lot of bloody money. I don't know whether they are the words of Alan Sugar, or I'm just guessing at this point, but so yeah, we're selling the wheat. Now, amazingly, Giants have made one of their augers capable of picking crop up off the ground, and it's actually the auger type. So I've tried the others, and as far as I know, they don't work. But the one that should have worked does work, because it's the one that farms. Don't get me wrong, modern day, you know, conveyor belt with all of its colours and designs. It doesn't look old. It doesn't look 1950s. Again, you know, but. And I will finish my point about the prices as well, and the fact that the dairy farm is rich. But yeah, just quickly, the conveyor belt that should work is, as I say, the conveyor belt that should have worked, because it would have been the ones that that farms would have used back in the day. Certainly the first farm that I worked on, which was like a small family farm, it had about, I think it's about 1,000, maybe just over 1,000 acres, and yeah, they still their one was still working, and we had a low tip shed where what we would do is we would tip the crop in the farmyard, and then with the teleport it into the shed, and then to get it out we used to have, as I say, a similar auger to what we've got in the soybean shed now, and literally two of you would stand either side of it just shoveling crop into it. I hated using it. You know, because I have a heart condition anyway, and the idea was that you had to keep it so that it was constantly turning crop, because if you didn't and it was sort of running empty, it would get very hot very quick. But if there was crop going through it, for whatever reason, that seemed to sort of keep it running at a nice running temperature. And so having a heart condition, you know, and sort of, I've only got one chamber that works. The rest of my heart is dead. You know, there's nothing. So I've only got one working chamber, and trying to keep up with that shoveling was bloody hard work. Enjoyable, you know. I used to go home and sleep for a year. Yeah, because I used to go in very tired. But I mean, I certainly couldn't do it now. I mean, since I've had all my other problems, all heart related. Unfortunately, my heart is deteriorating sort of quite rapidly now, which I was told would happen by the time I would get to sort of like my 40s and what have you. So it's not a surprise, but yeah, it was very hard work. So I'll just show you quickly what I mean. Now, the eagle-eyed of you, I will just run you down there, will have seen that we've got a new shed. And yes, I've finally managed to get the other one out. So I've had a little bit of trouble with this map in Giants Editor, as in it wouldn't load in Giants Editor, but I realised why. Yeah, so that shed has now gone. That's been deleted. That was there, and we've got another shed. So I was going to say there shouldn't be no route, unless it was picking up the signal from that one. Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, it was. Yeah, so we've got these hay bales here, so they're going to go into there, and then we're going to keep all the straw bales in there. Oh, we've got more hay bales than what I thought, but still one feed of the cows and they'll be gone, and I wouldn't be surprised if the cows do soon need feeding again. Yeah, that is running quite low, and I would imagine the straw's out virtually. So, but yeah, so as I say, that's the bale shed. I'm not going to sort of go too in depth into that because we've already got one and you've already seen it and everything else. But so this, before we back the lorry in, I'll just quickly show you. So this is the auger type that we had on the farm. So it basically has that. You bury that into the crop. I'm sure 99% of you know how this works. And then sort of two people, you put it in the middle, and then two people stand either side, and you literally just shovel it in and keep it going. I mean, it was okay once there was a pile like that, because you would literally just, with the forklift, or you just push it into the pile and just let it do its thing. But when it was starting to get as it is now, where there's not much to one side of it, to keep it sort of running okay, I mean, in real life I would move it and shove it straight into the middle of that huge pile and say, I ain't got no shoveling to do for a long time. But there would come a point where you would have to shovel. But yeah, so all this is going, and then the corn's also going, because the corn is also on a great demand at the moment. And according to the photos, let me get my bearings. So I mean, they're not how the sheds are in real life, but I think that one's the one that's there, and that one is the one that's not there. And here is all their silos. Yeah, it leaks through. It didn't leak through until I started piling it too high, and then it started to leak through. Once I started piling it that high, that's when it started leaking. But yeah, so anyway, we'll crack on with loading this lorry up, and this was as near to the lorries I could find in 1950. There was one that does look exactly like the lorries in 1950, but it had an awful lot of errors and different things sort of kind of wrong with it, and it was causing my game to lag, and it was just, I had to get rid of it. Since I put this one in, everything's gone back to being fine again. So as I say, this was as near as I could get to what we had, or what they had. But yeah, so we could go back a bit more there, look. Otherwise we'll be spilling and I'll be shoveling again. And I don't want no shoveling. Even in a computer game, I don't want no shoveling. No, it's even reaching it from there, look, Jesus. Bloody hell, Giants have done a good job. Yeah, it shouldn't be reaching that one, to be fair. It should be really sucking it from the big pile. But I'll take it. So the lorry holds 30,000. Alright, so I was originally saying about the dairy farm being rich, which of course they are, because they've got a massive field, and in a massive field you're able to grow sort of quantity over quality sometimes, and Farming Simulator doesn't sort of discriminate against the quality of the grain. They just want to know how much you've got, and then that's how much you're getting for it. And so, you're able to get a good price. But what I was going to say was that the price that you're getting in the game is based on modern day prices, not based on 1950s prices. So, I have a little saying. It's not really my saying as such, but I always say it, everything's relative. So the dairy farm is modern day rich, because it's getting modern day prices. It's paying, but on the other hand, where then it starts to balance out a little bit is all of the tractors and all of the sheds and different things that I will buy will be modern day prices, not old prices. So it'll sort of kind of balance and even itself out in the end. So it might seem like an extortionate amount of money, but we paid 65,000, or the dairy paid 65,000 for that bale shed. Now, back in 1950, you wouldn't have paid 65,000 for a bale shed. I don't know how much you would have paid. I'm guessing it would be like 10-12,000 probably for a bale shed. I don't know. I mean, even that might be extortionately too high. I don't know. But it's relative. So you're getting modern day prices for your crop, but the relative bit comes in where you're also paying modern day prices for your sheds and your machinery and stuff like that. So it does, as far as I can tell, it sort of kind of works itself out. And as I say, the dairy's got silo bins that need to be put in, because as I said before, that silo that was on that farm, I thought I could tip into it, but I couldn't. So it meant that the dairy didn't have no silo bins, and when I came to do the soya beans, my little bin was never going to hold what they were going to produce, so I had to tip it in the shed. The same with the corn. But next year, I'm not going to say there won't be, but there shouldn't be any shed tipping, because it's not widely done as far as I can tell in America, even back then or today. As far as I know, that most farms have a silo system, which is fine, and some farms in the UK now are starting to drift over that way a little bit. We had a system on the second farm. On the first farm that I worked in, we just had grain stores where we had, I think, 8 grain stores. 2 had wooden floors, so the vented floors, and 2 were concrete floors. So you had to put the rows of ducks out onto the drying tunnel. So they connected to the drying tunnel, and then there would be a massive fan at one end. And I think that was also thermostat controlled, so you could either heat it up or cool it. Either way, you could do whatever you wanted with the fan, and then that fan would blow the air down this tunnel. You could walk through the tunnel. I mean, I've walked through the tunnel loads of times. The only thing I would say is that if you're claustrophobic, scared of the dark, and terrified of rats jumping on you while you can't see nothing, probably don't walk through the tunnel. And also as well, if you're sort of, it's very hot in those tunnels as well. But you can walk through them, and I've walked through them many a time, because after the crop was all gone, you'd have to hoover them out, because crop would spill through the ducts and into the tunnel, so you'd have to go and sort of clean it out. And like I say, you'd have like a little torch on your head, and you'd sort of be using a shovel or a dustpan and brush or whatever to get all of the crop up, and then suddenly from nowhere a rat would run out, or a mouse or whatever. And honestly, for someone with a bit of a nervous disposition and a heart condition, it wasn't a great job in the world, but it used to be fun. It was kind of like, okay, we got to try and survive the whole day without being bitten by a rat. So I used to, when I used to go in there, I used to have a elasticated boiler suit, and I used to literally tie the cuffs and the my leg, the bits at the bottom, tie them all shut as tight as I could get them, so that nothing sort of ran up my arms or up my legs or wherever, and my boiler suit would fit really, really snug around me, so that you couldn't get down that way. And yeah, it's good fun. We have some very wonderful stories of working in the grain stores. Was working in the tunnel one day, and I kind of sort of felt something on my left shoulder, and what I thought I'd done was, so through the tunnel, obviously where the joins were, there was like a really thick wooden post, so that would go over, that would make like the arch, and then they would, because the outside of the tunnel walls are only plywood, and they were if you were reversing in there in the dark, in the grain stores, the lights weren't that great in there. If you caught the plywood tunnel, you just push straight through it. Honestly, they were as weak as shit. Excuse my French, but they were as weak as anything. And someone like myself, because you were tipping on the floors, you would use obviously elevators to load the grain, because you couldn't tip your trailer up with all of the ducks across the floor, because you used to have about 8 rows of ducks. And then, oh shoot, that's taking the corn. Blimey, that is taking a long way away. Right, we need to drop that down. It's a bit awkward in here because there's a low hung roof, as you can see. So yeah, I had these, as I say, these, and the plywood and that, and it was very easy to knock down and damage. It's a little bit kind of how this shed's designed, really, in terms of how the wood is kind of like that. So you'd have it posted like that. So you'd probably have that post to this post rather than one in the middle. So it'd be about that length, and then there would be a join, and then you would walk through. So like if it was then the same on this side, so then you would walk through the tunnel. But where the joists were, so then there would be like a vent. I'm pointing at my screen here, like you can see it, Oh, I'm telling you, I'm giving you a grand demonstration here, and you can't see a bloody thing. There we go. So here you would have a duct hole, and then the ducts would attach to the duct hole from the outside, because the grain store, we all imagine, will be on the other side of this wall, and then the fan would be that end. All that end, it didn't really matter, but for our one, it would have been that end, and then it would blow the air down, and then obviously we used to have deflectors on this side of the wall, so it would deflect the air into the tunnel, into the ducts, so that then they would go through. And as I say, probably about the spacing of those two planks is how you would have your ducts, or tins as we used to call them, but and they were really easy to bend as well, because they were only thin bits of metal with holes in. So yeah, one day working in there, because I'm hoovering away left shoulder, so I'd have been this side, and I thought I'd touched the post, because I felt sort of something rest against my shoulder, and that's what I thought I'd done. So I didn't really think that much of it. I sort of carried on in a true British style. I just sort of carried on, didn't really think nothing of it. Anyway, my boss, a little while later, 5-10 minutes, come in, or John, who I work with, came in and shouted at me and said it's break time, because when he was in there, obviously you could see very. I mean, there were lights in there, but the lights were sort of spread every 20 foot, and you couldn't see anything really. They were rubbish. So I sort of down tools, walked out of the tunnel, and whether it was John or whether it was my boss Anthony, I don't know, but whoever was waiting for me on the other side, because he used to wait with you with a like a damp cloth to just sort of wash your face and that off. I had a mask on and visors so that no dust and anything went in my eyes, and and John went, or whoever, because I can't remember, it was we're getting on for 20 some odd years ago, and they just kind of pointed at me, and I went, what? And they went, on your shoulder, and I turned around, and there was this bloody rat just sat on my shoulder. It's just like, Jesus, I've never moved so fast in all of my life. I tell you, in that moment, I was faster than Usain Bolt. The fact that the damn thing had been sat on my shoulder while I was working had nothing to do with it at all, and I was working quite happily when I didn't know it was there. But yeah, this rat, I sort of turned my head, and it sort of turned its head and went, hello. It's just like, and I was just, well, it was the proverbial brown trouser moment when I suddenly realised that this rat was sort of inches from my carotid artery in my neck. It's kind of like, and of course if they're frightened, or if you make them sort of feel like they need to defend their life, that's where they'll go for your neck, because it's soft enough for them to get their teeth in. But also somehow in rat school they teach them human biology, and they know that that's the bit where you'll bleed to death within seconds. So boy did I move. But it was a very scary moment, or very scary realisation that it wasn't a post that I touched. It was this bloody rat had jumped onto my left shoulder. But so not pleasant, because I had another good grain, because I used to do the grain loading on the farm, so it's part of my job. When you was like working on the vented floors, it was easy, cause, you literally just back your tractors in, you're tipped, and with the teleporter you just keep pushing it up, and just sort of fill the shed that way, and it was really easy. And when you come to unload them, again, really easy. You just literally load the bucket, load the lorry. So the lorry came in, and I think we were selling or we were sending about 12 lorries that day, so it was going to be a sort of full day of it. There's going to be very little time to stop, although I did used to, because if the lorries came at sort of 11:45 and they get out and they get all the cover off and that off their trailers, and then I'd say to them, sorry mate, I'm going for my dinner, and he'd go, well, I've got to go, and I go, well, sorry, I can't do anything about that, it's my dinner time. And he's like, no, you got a lot, because he goes, you've got more coming in. I said, yeah, you'll have a queue then, won't you? I said, because I'm going for my dinner. I used to be a right arsehole when it came to dinners and stuff like that. I honestly, I wouldn't miss my food. Obviously I'm on heart pills, and so I need to eat. It's a necessity, because I need to take my pills. I used to go for my dinner, and they get back, and then they're like, the first couple of free lorry drivers would be right, sort of awkward, and they'd be like shouting and whatever, and I mean, if they shouted at me too much, all I would do is I'd get off the forklift and walk off, and then they'd say, where you going? And then I'd literally just say to them, you speak to me like that, I don't come to work to be spoken to like that, and you don't even work here, and you don't even know me. So do you know what, if you think you can do a better job, go for it, but I'd take the keys of the teleport with me. And then you'd always get like, oh, I'm sorry mate, I didn't mean, I'm a bit late, I'm a bit stressed, and you think, right, well, you might be, I said, I'm a bit stressed, but I haven't spoken to you like it, have I? And one day when I was new at the job, I was loading lorries, and the first couple of lorries I'd done with John, who used to do it on the farm, and saying then I joined, and then it sort of became my job. But But the first couple of lorries I did with him, and everything went really well. So the first lorry on my own, John stood up, because on the tunnel, so above the tunnel there would be a bridge, so you could walk on top of the tunnel all the way along, or you could walk through the tunnel, obviously, at the bottom. And he stood up on top of the tunnel, which was like right up into the roof sort of thing. It was really high. And he stood up there and he said, what I'll do is I'll watch you from up there. He said, I'll just watch you do a couple of lorries. Once I know you're doing all right, he said, like, I'll leave you to it. Like, he said, I think he had some like top dressing to do and fertilising, whatever, same thing. But so I was like, yeah, okay. And anyway, I was loading this lorry, and I thought, oh, it's going brilliant. Like, this is quite a easy, fun job sort of thing. Like, and he came down and he and because the lorry driver had gone off to the toilet, and he came down and he goes, "You're doing an absolutely brilliant job, Jamie," because he used to call me Jamie for some reason. And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Might be an idea." He said, "If you actually put the wheat into the lorry." And I said, "I am putting the wheat in the lorry." And he went, "No, you're tipping it over the other side." I was extending my boom too far, and I was literally tipping it onto the ground the other side of the lorry. I went round there, it was like, whoops. He went, "Yeah, probably wouldn't let Anthony see that." He goes, "I would get that cleared up pretty sharpish." So there's me and him shoveling grain into the bloody bucket for me to actually put it in the lorry this time. But it get to the point, and I did it I did it by the end of sort of that season. I could have done it with my eyes shut. But yeah, there's just a couple of grain stories that when I started loading with the auger, and I was like, phew, I remember those, sort of 2 or 3 incidents. Anyway, I've gone on for nearly half an hour. You lot are all bored to tears, so I'm going to do a little bit of music, and we'll have a little bit more, because it's literally just going to be the rest of the day me doing this, because once I get the soybeans out of that shed done, I've then got to go down to my shed, do my soybeans. Well, actually, I'll do the corn as well, because the corn, although it's not on a great demand, is a little bit higher than what its base price is, so I'll get that corn sold as well. I mean, I could have carried on letting it fill, but the problem is the corn's not going to the same place as the soybeans are, so I'll get this soybeans done, get that bit of corn done, and then I'll be down and I will get my soybeans sold, and I might even sell, or the dairy might even sell, that wheat that's in my silo, which will be really handy, because that would free up space. Anyway, thanks for listening to my stories. I'm sure they're not very amusing, I'm sure they're not very interesting, but as I say, 1 or 2 people did sort of say, well, if you think of a story that relates to the video, why not tell us? It's interesting to know what sort of goes on. We don't work on farms, we don't sort of know what goes on, and so there you go. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'll see you in a little bit. Bye for now. So there we go. We have sold the soybeans. There's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy in where the kind of music ended to where I started, to where you cut in with me, because like a Wally, I've just recorded a brilliant Oscar-winning performance 10-minute ending to my video. And right at the end, where I'm saying thank you very much and my goodbyes and everything else, I've realised, I've just sort of looked top right in my screen and I've realised I didn't actually turn my microphone back on. So here we go. This is the end in take 2. And this time I have made sure that I've turned my microphone back on. Yeah, so the Wally of the week yet again goes to me. I'm becoming a serial winner of this. Honestly, I'm a very professional YouTuber. It's planned down to the meticulous, detail. It's just I'm very forgetful. Never mind. No one noticed. Carry on. And of course, you do debate yourself. You think, well, actually, if I don't say anything, no one will ever know. And then I sort of think, yeah, but there's quite a bit of crop missing out of the shed now. And they're going to think, what happened to the crop? Where did it all go? So, yeah, I thought I'd better come clean. So, what we'll do is, yet again, we will take this load and we'll sell it. There is still some soybeans still in that shed, but we're getting down to the dregs of the soybeans now. We will sell this load, and then I'll run you through everything else that I was talking about. So, dear me, I just honestly, it's mind baffling that I remember. Now, I don't think I'm not. So I don't think I'm wrong in this, but I think the wing mirrors on this lorry have got sticky out collisions. Because I've been sort of catching the wall and I've not been anywhere near the walls, and we just caught the wall again and I was nowhere near the wall. So I think on the right side of the lorry we've got a sticky out collision from the mirror, but on the left side of the lorry it's not so bad, or non-existent, and I'm okay as long as I'm sort of over to the left a bit. But the problem is that sometimes I forget. Luckily I don't never forget nothing important like turning on microphones or anything like that. But when it comes to sort of just I do sometimes forget. But yeah, we'll say no more about the microphone incident. That'll be mine and your little secret. Don't tell no one else, right? I mean, there's only probably, I don't know, a few hundred people that are going to watch this, and those people are probably going to have a really good laugh at my expense, and but never mind. Right, we'll get back down to the farm, and I'll do some more talking about what I was talking about. So basically, what I was kind of saying was I'd finished the drilling of the wheat, and once I'd finished going the full length of the field and got into going just halfway down the field, because obviously it meets my field and or my two fields. There's a crop field there and the grass field there as well. Once I got to that bit where I was just going like sort of halfway down the field, that field started to pass pretty quickly. And it just rapidly started getting over. Now, I was right about a couple of things. I was right that I didn't have enough seed. It took another 11 bags to finish that field. So I was right about not having enough seed. And the other thing is, and luckily this doesn't happen very often. So you know, this is only a, you know, once in a blue moon. You know, don't, you know, sort of think this is, you know, a regular occurrence for me. But I finished that field and then realised I didn't put my screen recorder on to kind of, because the plan was I was going to do a big massive chunk of that field, and then when I got towards the end, half of this video was going to be me finishing that field, the other half of this video was going to be me taking the soya beans. I forgot to record me finishing that field. So what happened was I was really into it. I was listening to me music, and yeah, I got to the end, parked the crawler, and sort of then thought, yeah, I didn't record the end of that, and I was going to, just because I thought, you know, like, you'd like to see a little bit more. I mean, you know, handily, we're going to see plenty more of the drilling team in the series, because obviously we've got the spring crops to go yet, and yeah, so, but bumped the bloody thingy. I can drive, honestly. Right, so we're going to need to turn that like that, in the vain hope. Yeah, okay, that's not going to go so well, James. But yeah, so we'll just get this in here, and then while this is filling up, we'll have a wander down the wheat field, because I want to show you something. It should be okay. No, it don't. Ooh, it liked that bit, and I moved. There we go. We'll do it now. Right, we will. Oh, dear me. You can see what I mean now, can't you? About a very professional YouTuber. Anyway, so we got this field here. This was our cornfield. It's all greening up quite nicely. We'll spray that off. Now, as you already know, for some reason, the headlands got cultivated. I then drilled them up to here, so you can see how much I did. So I think it was either 6 or 8 lines or breeds that I did across the field to do the headlands, and that basically was just so that I didn't miss any on the turning round bit. But so that's what I did, and then I said, like, you know, for some reason, you know, sort of drilling that little bit where you joined us from, well, literally 30 seconds before I pressed record, weeds came up like this, and this is how they sort of came up, all in patches like that. And the rest of the field, absolutely fine. So I was thinking, oh, well, okay, that's a bit weird, but, you know, whatever. Finished the drilling, saved it, and then I saved it, the game there, switched it off because I went out yesterday evening. To anyone that went to the Norfolk Arena, it was a good night. I hope you enjoyed it as much as what I did. It's very fun. But yeah, so I saved it, and then I've loaded it in this morning to do sort of like, you know, part 2 of the drilling video, even though I forgot to bloody record it. And for some reason, when I reloaded it, this happened. So when I saved it yesterday, this wasn't here. When I reloaded it today, this was here. I mean, you know, hopefully it's not going to be too much of an issue, because all we're going to do is spray it and they'll all disappear. Yeah, visually we'll still see them, but, you know, they won't have sort of no impact on crop yield, hopefully. But yeah, it just came through like that. So I don't know why that's happened, because, as I say, this map is genuinely, like, you know, doesn't sort of, it's never done this before. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know quite why that has happened, but anyway, that's what's happened. But we finished the drilling. As I say, we've been loading the soybeans, and we're going to do the corn, and then we're going to go over to mine, do the soybeans there. We're also going to sell the dairy's wheat that's in our silo. And as I said, I think in the first half of the video, I was meant to say, if I didn't, this shed that we're looking at now, might be coming down, and the silo system is going to go here. I think where this shed is, I think we're going to put the silo here, and I think that will look quite nice. Or it might be that shed, because that shed is quite handy. So it might be that shed. But yeah, so eventually we will turn these sheds over to the red sheds, because they are a little bit more in keeping with the way it looks in real life. So eventually we will sort of change, but I've left it in like that, and we'll do it sort of a bit at a time, just because I thought it would be quite interesting to, you see more of this farm really than you do of my farm. But Harry's farm didn't really kick off until sort of the mid-50s, when he started doing contracting. So eventually he got to the point where the dairy said to him, look, we're getting bigger, we're getting busier, we're getting this, that and everything else. Either you work for us full time, like proper, or you go and work your own land. And Harry decided to go and work his own land, and that's when the contracting came in and other things. Yeah, so there's the seed bags. That's what I had left over. That was, yeah. So what I might do, I might go a little bit different than real life, just because it is quite interesting, the work down here, and people seem to be enjoying the work down on the dairy farm. So I might try and run Harry's farm the way that Harry ran his farm, but we might also then sort of carry on doing the work over here, because it is quite interesting to sort of look at and do and things. So that's what I might do. I don't know yet. If you guys have got any sort of suggestions, or whatever that that you would like to sort of put forward, then please feel free to do so. And the last bit, just before I do end the video, is I'm not normally a person to apologise for anything that I say, as long as it's not too outlandish and outrageous and everything else. But generally I sort of think, freedom of speech and all of that, as long as I'm not being offensive to anyone, then or specifically picking out one person or a group of people, I don't tend to apologise, because I just sort of think you need to lighten up a bit. But there was a couple of swear words that got dropped in the first half of the video, and the reason I'm apologising for swearing, or for those 2 swear words, I think it was 2 or 3 swear words that went into the first half of the video, is just in case any dads like I do sit down with their kiddies and watch these videos. So I do apologise, just because, as I say, my 8-year-old son's going to come next weekend, and the first thing he's going to do is, Dad, let's put some of your videos on and watch. And yeah, so I do apologise for that. The last thing that I wanted to say just before I go, massive thank you to everyone that subscribed and is supporting the channel, and all the comments and everything. Honestly, it's making such a difference, and I really do appreciate everything. And like I said, sort of first half of the video, I hope you enjoy the stories. If you don't, and you just want me to go back to the way I was doing it, honestly, just say, I won't be offended. I'm thick-skinned and all of that business. You just say, and I will go back to doing it. But sometimes I just sort of think it's nice, just rather than having sort of all music, 'cause it was suggested to me by a couple of people to have some videos where there wasn't as much music and there was more talking, which I'm happy to do, like I say. But yeah, the comments and the support and everything that everyone gives, honestly, it really, really does help, and it sort of helps to push the channel to new people, and it's brilliant. But I would like to say a massive thank you to Kowalski273, who became the 350th subscriber to my channel. A massive thank you. I really do, as I always say, You know, I appreciate your support, appreciate the you know, the comments and everything else. So Kowalski273, a massive thank you for subscribing to the channel, and you know, for all of your comments on the videos. It really is appreciated. So thanks ever so much for joining me on this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed having your company, and I really look forward to seeing you on the next video and joining me for that one too. So bye for now. Thank you.